My name is Webb, and I run a bar called the Last Call Lounge. You won't find it on any map. You won't see it listed in any directory. And you sure as hell won't stumble across it by accident unless you're meant to. The people who find their way to my establishment aren't looking for a good time. They're not here for happy hour specials or to watch the game with friends. They come to me because they're desperate, because they've run out of options, because they need something that doesn't exist anywhere else in this world. I serve drinks, special drinks, each one crafted specifically for the person sitting across from me. Drinks that can erase pain, restore hope, bring back lost love, or grant abilities beyond human comprehension. But here's the thing about my bar that separates it from every other watering hole in existence. You don't pay me in cash. You don't pay me in credit. You pay me in memories. Every drink costs a piece of your past. And once you hand it over, it's mine forever. You'll never get it back. That memory will be gone from your mind like it never happened at all. Some people think that's a fair trade. Some people are willing to sacrifice anything to escape their present reality. But what they don't understand until it's too late is that our memories make us who we are. Take away enough of them, and you might not recognize the person staring back at you in the mirror. I've been doing this for longer than I care to remember. Veronica. And tonight, I'm going to tell you about 3 patrons who walked through my door and made choices that changed their lives forever. Let me start by setting the scene. The Last Call Lounge exists in a space between spaces. If you've ever driven down a highway late at night and suddenly noticed an exit you swear wasn't there before, you might have passed near it. If you've ever walked down a city street and felt like you turned a corner you didn't mean to turn, you might have brushed against its edges. The interior is frozen in time somewhere around 1947. Art Deco fixtures line the walls. The bar itself is solid mahogany, polished to a mirror shine that reflects the dim amber lighting from vintage sconces. Behind me, stretching up 2 full stories, are shelves upon shelves of bottles. But these aren't your typical spirits. Each bottle is unique. Some glow with inner light. Others seem to contain swirling galaxies. I've got bottles shaped like human hearts that actually beat. Bottles that whisper secrets. Bottles filled with liquids that change color based on who's looking at them. Each one is labeled in my own handwriting, describing not just what's inside, but what it costs. The bar is always empty except for whoever's meant to be here. I've never had 2 customers at the same time. That's just how it works. When someone needs to find me, the universe makes sure we're alone. My only companion is an old jukebox in the corner that only plays songs from the person's past. It never needs coins. It just knows what to play. And me? I'm just the bartender. I mix the drinks, I collect the payments, and I listen to the stories. That's all I've ever done, and all I'll ever do until someone takes my place. But that's a story for another time. Transition sound. Door creaking open. Distant rain. First patron, Margaret Sullivan, 3 to 11 o'clock. The first patron I want to tell you about came in on a Tuesday night. The rain was coming down in sheets outside, and when the door opened, a cold wind swept through the bar, making the bottles chime against each other like wind chimes. She stood in the doorway for a long moment, dripping wet, staring at me with hollow eyes. She was maybe 65, 70 years old. Gray hair plastered to her skull, wearing a nurse's uniform that looked like it hadn't been changed in days. Her hands were shaking. "Is this the place?" she asked, her voice hoarse. "The place where you can make it stop?" I gestured to the nearest bar stool. "Depends on what you want to stop, ma'am. Why don't you sit down and tell me about it?" She shuffled over, leaving wet footprints on my clean floor, and collapsed onto the stool like her legs couldn't hold her up anymore. Up close, I could see the exhaustion etched into every line of her face. This was a woman who hadn't slept properly in months, maybe years. "My name is Margaret Sullivan," she said, staring at the bar top. I'm a hospice nurse. Have been for 37 years. I nodded, pulling out a clean glass and setting it in front of her. That's noble work, Margaret. Hard work. It's destroying me, she whispered. Every single day I watch people die. I hold their hands. I comfort their families. I administer the morphine when the pain gets too bad. And every single one of them, her voice cracked. Every single one of them stays with me. I remember all of them. Every face. Every name. Every last word they said. 37 years of death, Marcus. It's all up here. She tapped her temple. I can't sleep. I can't eat. I can't function. I just see them. All of them. Staring at me. I leaned against the bar, studying her. And you want me to take those memories away? Yes. The word came out desperate, pleading. I heard about this place from someone. They said you could help me forget. That you could make it so I don't see their faces anymore. I'll pay anything. Please. I turned to my shelves, my eyes scanning the bottles until I found the one I was looking for. It was a tall, slender bottle that seemed to be made of frosted glass. Inside, a pale white liquid swirled like morning fog. The label read, Lethe's Embrace, for those who cannot bear to remember. I brought it down and set it on the bar between us. This drink will do exactly what you're asking, I said quietly. One sip, and every memory of every patient you've watched die will be gone. You'll remember your training, your skills, your career, but the faces, the names, the moments of death, they'll all disappear like they never happened. Margaret's eyes filled with tears of relief. Thank God. Thank God. What do I owe you? The cost, I said, meeting her eyes, is your daughter's 8th birthday. She froze. What? Your daughter Emily's 8th birthday party. The one where she wanted a unicorn cake and you stayed up all night decorating it yourself. Where she opened her presents in the backyard and you took videos that you still watch sometimes when you miss her. That memory. That's the price. Margaret's face went pale. But that's one of my happiest memories. Emily died when she was 16. That birthday is one of the last truly happy days I can remember with her before she got sick. I know, I said simply. That's why it's worth the trade. This drink costs a memory of equal weight to what it takes away. You want to forget decades of death? It costs a memory of life. Of joy. She sat there for a long time, staring at the bottle. Her hands trembled as she reached for it, then pulled back, then reached again. If I don't take this drink, she whispered, I don't think I'll survive another year. The weight of it all, it's crushing me. I know. But if I lose that memory of Emily's birthday, I'll have even less of her than I already do. That's the choice, I said, not unkindly. That's always the choice here. Margaret sat in silence for what felt like an eternity. The jukebox in the corner suddenly clicked on, playing What a Wonderful World by Louis Armstrong. I saw her flinch. That must have been Emily's favorite song. Finally, with shaking hands, she pushed the bottle back toward me. I can't, she sobbed. I can't give up that memory. It's all I have left of her. Of who she was before the cancer. I'd rather carry the weight of every death I've witnessed than lose even one more moment with my daughter. I nodded slowly and returned the bottle to its shelf. That's a brave choice, Margaret. Then why do I feel like I'm dying? She asked, tears streaming down her face. I reached under the bar and pulled out a different bottle. This one was small, barely bigger than a shot glass. It was filled with a liquid that looked like liquid gold, warm and glowing. The label read, Strength for the weary, no cost. I poured her a single shot and slid it across the bar. This one's on the house, I said. It won't take away your memories. It won't make the pain disappear, but it'll give you the strength to carry it for one more day. And then tomorrow, when you wake up, You'll have the strength to carry it for one more day after that." She looked at the golden liquid, then at me. "What does it cost?" "Nothing," I said. "Sometimes people come here expecting to trade away their pain, but they make the right choice to hold onto what matters. When that happens, I give them something to help them keep going. Call it a reward for choosing love over escape." Margaret took the shot glass with trembling hands and drank it down in one swallow. I watched as color returned to her cheeks, as the trembling in her hands slowly steadied, as she took her first deep breath in what looked like months. "Thank you," she whispered. "You're stronger than you know, Margaret. Your patients were lucky to have you with them at the end. And Emily would be proud of the choice you made tonight." She stood up, straightened her uniform, and walked toward the door. Before she left, she turned back one more time. "Will I remember this place? Will I remember coming here?" "Only if you need to come back," I said. "And I hope you never need to." She nodded and stepped out into the rain. The door closed behind her, and she was gone. I stood there for a moment, staring at the empty bar stool, before I began cleaning the shot glass. Margaret would be okay. She'd wake up tomorrow with the strength to face another day. And the day after that. And the day after that. Not everyone who comes to my bar leaves with a drink. But everyone who comes here leaves with exactly what they need, whether they realize it or not. About an hour after Margaret left, the door opened again. This time, no rain followed the patron inside. Just cold. The kind of cold that has nothing to do with temperature and everything to do with the emptiness inside a person's soul. He was young. Couldn't have been more than 35. Wearing expensive clothes, designer glasses, a watch that probably cost more than most people make in a year. But despite all the trappings of success, there was something hollow about him. Like he was wearing someone else's skin. "Marcus Webb?" he asked, his voice clipped and professional. "That's me. You can just call me Marcus. Take a seat." He sat down carefully, adjusting his jacket to avoid wrinkles. Everything about him was precise, controlled, measured. The kind of person who'd never had a hair out of place in his entire life. "My name is James Richardson. I'm a corporate attorney. I make $700,000 a year. I have a wife, 2 kids, a house in the suburbs. On paper, I have everything a man could want. But," I prompted, already reaching for the bottle I knew he'd need. "But I'm not supposed to be a corporate attorney," he said, his voice cracking slightly on the last word. "I was supposed to be a painter, an artist. When I was younger, that's all I wanted. I dreamed about it every single day. I could see the paintings in my mind, these vivid, beautiful images that I was desperate to bring into the world." I set a glass in front of him and waited. "My parents had other ideas," he continued, staring at his reflection in the polished bar. "They told me art wasn't a real career, that I'd starve, that I needed to be practical. So I went to law school. I graduated top of my class. I got recruited by one of the best firms in the city, and I've been miserable every single day since." "But you stayed anyway," I observed. "I stayed because they were right," he said bitterly. "I make more money in a month than my artist friends make in a year. My children go to the best schools. My wife has everything she wants. I've built a life that's comfortable, stable, secure. But every morning when I wake up, there's this voice in my head asking, what if? What if I'd ignored them? What if I'd pursued my art? What if I'd been brave enough to try?" He looked up at me with desperate eyes. "I heard you can take away memories. I want you to take away every memory I have of wanting to be an artist. Every painting I never created. Every dream I never pursued. I want to erase that version of myself that could have been, so I can finally be content with who I am now." I pulled down a bottle from the middle shelf. It was shaped like a human head, translucent, with a swirling gray liquid inside that looked like storm clouds. The label read, "The road not taken, forget what might have been." "This will do what you're asking," I said, setting it on the bar. "One drink and you'll forget you ever wanted to be an artist. You'll remember your career, your family, your life, but that yearning for something different will be gone. You'll be content." "Perfect," he breathed. "What's the cost?" "The cost," I said carefully, "is your son's first crayon drawing." James blinked. "What?" "Your son Daniel. He's 6 years old. Last year, he drew you a picture of the two of you holding hands. He used every color in the box, and it was objectively terrible, but you cried when he gave it to you because you saw yourself in him. That memory, that's the price." His face went white. That's the moment I realized Daniel had inherited my artistic side. That he sees the world the way I used to see it. I know. If I forget that, if I forget why that drawing mattered, I might not encourage him. I might push him toward law school the way my parents pushed me. "You might," I agreed, "or you might not. But you'll never know, because you won't remember why it should matter." James sat there, his hands clasped tightly together, knuckles white. The jukebox clicked on, playing Vienna by Billy Joel. "Slow down, you crazy child. You're so ambitious for a juvenile." "There's another option," I said quietly, reaching for a different bottle. This one was beautiful. It looked like it was made of crystallized dreams, all rainbow refractions and light. Inside was a liquid that seemed to contain every color imaginable, constantly shifting. The label read, "Second chances, unlock what you buried." "What does that one do?" James asked. "This drink doesn't take away memories," I explained. "It gives you the courage to pursue what you abandoned. One sip, and you'll have the strength to start painting again. To pick up those brushes you put down 20 years ago. To show your son that it's never too late to chase your dreams." "But I have a career, a family, responsibilities. I can't just quit my job and become a starving artist." "Who said anything about quitting?" I asked. "Paint on weekends. Paint in the early mornings. Take a class. Enter a local show. You don't have to abandon your responsibilities to reconnect with who you are. You just have to be brave enough to try." He stared at the rainbow bottle. "What does this one cost?" I smiled. "This one costs your excuses. Every reason you've given yourself for why you can't pursue art. Every excuse about time, money, talent, age. You'll forget them all, and all that will be left is possibility." That doesn't sound like a real payment. "Oh, it's very real," I assured him. "Excuses are comfortable. They protect us from failure, from judgment, from disappointment. Giving them up means accepting that if you try and fail, it's on you. No more blaming your parents, your job, your circumstances. Just you and your art." James looked between the two bottles for a long time. "If I take the first one," he said slowly, "I'll be content, but I'll potentially push my son down the same path I was pushed down." "Yes. And if I take the second one, I might fail. I might discover I'm not actually good enough. I might embarrass myself." "Also yes." He sat there, wrestling with the decision. Finally, he reached out with a shaking hand and touched the rainbow bottle. "I want this one. The second chance. I don't want to forget who I could have been. I want to find out if I still can be." I poured him the drink. It shimmered in the glass like liquid starlight. He raised it to his lips, hesitated one last time, then drank it down. I watched as something shifted in his expression. The tightness around his eyes relaxed. His shoulders, which had been hunched with tension, straightened. He looked at his hands like he was seeing them for the first time. "I used to be so scared of failing," he said wonderingly. "But right now, I can't even remember why. All I can think about is getting home and pulling out my old sketchbook. Showing Daniel how to mix colors. Maybe even taking a class at the community center. That's the drink working, I said. Your excuses are gone. Now you just have to follow through. He stood up, straightened his tie, and smiled at me. It was the first genuine smile I'd seen from him all night. Thank you, Marcus. I don't know if I'll be any good, but at least I'll know I tried. That's all anyone can ask for, I said. Your son will be proud of you. And who knows? Maybe you'll surprise yourself. He walked toward the door, then paused. What if I'm terrible? What if I try and discover I never had talent in the first place? Then you'll still be a man who faced his fear and tried anyway, I said. And that's worth more than being comfortable your whole life wondering what if. James nodded, squared his shoulders, and walked out into the night. I cleaned his glass and returned both bottles to their shelves. Tomorrow morning, James Richardson would wake up and paint. Maybe he'd be good, maybe he'd be terrible, but he'd be whole. And his son would see that it's never too late to become who you were meant to be. Sometimes the best drink I can serve someone is the one that doesn't let them forget. The third patron arrived just before midnight. I knew she was coming before the door even opened. I could feel it in the air, that electric charge that appears when someone approaches my bar carrying truly unbearable pain. She was maybe 40 years old, dressed in all black. Wedding ring still on her finger. Eyes red from crying. She didn't ask if this was the right place. She didn't introduce herself. She just walked straight to the bar and sat down, staring at me with an intensity that made my skin prickle. I need you to bring him back, she said, her voice steady despite the tears streaming down her face. I can't do that, I replied gently. I don't have that power. Then I need you to let me forget him. Completely. Like he never existed. I should have said no right then. I should have offered her the same strength I'd given Margaret. But there was something in her eyes that made me pause. A darkness I'd only seen a handful of times before. Tell me what happened, I said. Her name was Elena Vasquez. 3 months ago, her husband of 15 years, David, had died in a car accident. Drunk driver, wrong place, wrong time. He'd been killed instantly. Everyone keeps telling me it'll get easier, she said, her voice hollow. That time heals all wounds. That I'll learn to live with it. But it's been 3 months and it's only getting worse. Every morning I wake up and for a split second, I forget he's gone. And then I remember, and it feels like he's dying all over again. I nodded, understanding. And you think forgetting him entirely will ease that pain. I don't just think it. I know it. I can't keep living like this, Marcus. Every room in our house has memories. Every song on the radio. Every restaurant, every park, every street corner. The entire world is just one giant reminder of what I lost. I want it gone. All of it. I reached for a bottle I'd hoped I'd never have to use again. It was made of black glass, so dark it seemed to absorb light. Inside was a liquid that looked like the void between stars. The label read, "Total eclipse, forget a life, erase a love." This drink will do what you're asking, I said, my voice heavy. One sip, and every memory of David will be gone. Your wedding, your first date, every laugh, every touch, every moment of your 15 years together. You'll remember your life before him and your life after, but he'll be completely erased from your mind. Good, she said without hesitation. What does it cost? It costs your ability to love anyone ever again. Elena went very still. Explain. The love you had for David, the depth of connection you shared, it didn't just exist in your memories of him. It exists in your capacity to feel that kind of love at all. If I erase him completely, I erase the part of you that knew how to love that deeply. You'll still be able to care about people, have friendships, feel affection, but you'll never again experience the kind of profound, soul-deep love you had with David. that capacity will be gone forever. She stared at the black bottle. So I either live the rest of my life in constant pain remembering him, or I live the rest of my life unable to feel what I felt with him. Yes, those are terrible choices. The most important choices usually are. Elena sat in silence. The jukebox played "The First Time Ever I Saw Your Face" by Roberta Flack. She flinched like she'd been struck. "That was our wedding song," she whispered. "I know. I can't do this anymore, Marcus. The pain is eating me alive. I think about joining him. Every single day I think about it." This was what I'd been afraid of. I'd seen that particular darkness before. "Elena," I said carefully, "before you make this decision, I need to show you something." I reached under the bar and pulled out a bottle I'd never shown anyone before. It wasn't for sale. It wasn't for trade. It was just mine. A clear glass bottle filled with what looked like ordinary water, but when the light hit it right, you could see faces swirling in the liquid. Hundreds of faces. Maybe thousands. "What is that?" Elena asked. "These are memories I've collected," I said quietly. "Every memory that's ever been traded in this bar. They don't disappear when someone gives them up. They come to me. I hold them. I carry them." I poured a small amount into a glass and slid it toward her. "Drink this. Just a sip. It'll let you see something." She looked suspicious but desperate enough to try anything. She lifted the glass and took a small sip. Her eyes went wide. I watched as she saw what I see every day. Thousands of memories swirling together. First kisses and last goodbyes. Children being born and parents dying. Weddings and divorces. Every joy and every sorrow that people had been willing to trade away. And in all of it, one truth became clear. The memories people gave up didn't stop causing pain. They just transferred that pain to me. When the vision faded, Elena was crying harder than before. "You carry all of that?" she asked. "Every memory everyone ever gave up?" "Yes." "How? How do you survive it?" "Because I understand something that took me a very long time to learn," I said. "Pain is the price we pay for love. The depth of your grief is proportional to the depth of your love for David. If you didn't love him so much, his death wouldn't hurt so badly. But that means the pain you feel isn't the enemy. It's proof that what you had was real. That it mattered." "But it hurts so much," she sobbed. "I know, and it will hurt for a long time. But if you erase him, if you trade away your memories and your capacity to love, you won't just lose the pain. You'll lose everything good he brought to your life. Every way he changed you for the better. Every lesson he taught you. Every moment of happiness. All of it gone." I leaned forward, meeting her eyes. "David wouldn't want that for you. He'd want you to remember, to hurt, and eventually to heal. Because healing doesn't mean forgetting. It means learning to carry the love and the loss together." Elena sat there for a long time, tears streaming down her face. Finally, she pushed the black bottle away. "I can't do it," she whispered. "I can't forget him. Even though it hurts, even though some days I don't think I'll survive it, I can't erase 15 years of love. He deserves better than to be forgotten." I felt relief wash over me. "That's the right choice, Elena. But I still don't know how to live with this pain." I reached for a different bottle. This one was made of clear crystal and filled with a liquid that looked like morning dew catching the first light of dawn. The label read, "Hope's Promise, for those who choose to remember." "This won't take away your grief," I said, pouring her a measure. "It won't erase your pain, but it will give you something you've lost. Hope. Hope that one day, the pain will soften. That you'll be able to remember David with more joy than sorrow. That you'll learn to carry this loss without it crushing you." "What does it cost?" she asked warily. "1 year," I said. "You give me the memory of 1 year with David. You choose which one. In exchange, you get the hope that sustains you through healing. She considered this carefully. Can I choose the last year? The year before he died? Those memories are the hardest because I knew what was coming but couldn't stop it. I shook my head. You can't choose the last year. Or the first. Choose something from the middle. A year that was good but not the beginning or the end. She thought for a long moment. Year 7, she said finally. It was a good year. We took a trip to Italy. Had some fights. Made up. It was normal and beautiful and I love those memories. But they're not the foundation of our relationship or the goodbye. I can give them up if it means I can survive this. I nodded and pushed the glass toward her. Elena took the glass in both hands and drank slowly, savoring it like a prayer. As she finished, I watched the memories of year 7 leave her eyes. She wouldn't remember Rome or that fight about his mother or the way they'd laughed until they cried at that terrible restaurant. But she'd remember everything else. And she'd have hope. When she looked up at me, her eyes were different. Still sad, but no longer hopeless. I can feel it, she whispered. I can feel that maybe, someday I'll be okay. You will be, I assured her. It won't be easy, and it won't be quick, but you'll survive this. And David's love will be part of what carries you through. Elena stood up, steadier than when she'd arrived. Thank you, Marcus, for not letting me make the wrong choice. That's why I'm here, I said, to help people find what they really need, even when they think they need something else. She walked to the door, paused, and looked back. Do you ever drink from your own bottles? Do you ever try to forget? I smiled sadly. No, I'm the keeper of everyone's discarded memories. I can't forget them even if I wanted to. That's my burden to carry. That sounds lonely. It is. But it's also important. Someone needs to remember what people choose to forget. Someone needs to bear witness. Elena nodded and stepped out into the night. The door closed softly behind her. I stood alone in my empty bar, surrounded by thousands of bottles containing every possible solution to every possible problem. Magic in glass. Miracles for sale. But the truth is, most people who come to the Last Call Lounge don't actually need a drink. They need someone to listen, someone to understand, someone to show them that the easy solution isn't always the right one. Margaret could have forgotten the deaths she'd witnessed, but she would have lost her daughter in the process. James could have erased his artistic dreams, but he would have stolen that same choice from his son. Elena could have forgotten David entirely, but she would have lost the capacity to ever love that deeply again. The drinks I serve are real. The magic is real. But magic always has a price, and that price is always steeper than people expect. I've been tending this bar for longer than I can remember. I've seen thousands of patrons. I've collected thousands of memories. And I've learned that the most important thing I can offer isn't a drink that solves problems. It's the clarity to see what those problems are really costing them. Some nights, like tonight, everyone leaves without taking a drink. And those are the nights I'm most proud of. Because my job isn't to help people forget. It's to help them remember what's worth holding on to. The Last Call Lounge will be here tomorrow night, and the night after that, and the night after that. Somewhere between the spaces, waiting for the next person who thinks they want to forget. And I'll be here, ready to serve them whatever they need, whether they know what that is or not. My name is Marcus Webb. I'm a bartender at a place that doesn't exist, serving drinks that shouldn't be possible to customers who are looking for the wrong answers. But sometimes, if I do my job right, they leave with the right questions instead. And that's enough.